I literally have less than 24 hours before this exam. I feel like I don't know anything. I have so much lectures to cover and I feel like I just don't have enough time. Like, I cannot fail. Like, I did not come here to fail. Welcome back to the channel. This video is going to talk about how I overcome, how I manage those thoughts, those feelings of anxiety when I literally have an exam the next day. It's like we have 10,000 things to do, but we only have time for 3. But we feel like we need to get all 10,000 of the things done in order to pass the test. So it's like, I'm gonna try to do all 10,000 things in the minimal time I have so I can get the end result. And that's not always the case. And I've learned this after the several exams that I've taken. Sometimes the quantity of hours you study does not always equate how well you're going to do on your exam. It's about the quality of what you're studying, how well do you understand it. So basically the efficiency that determines how you do on the exam. But that's a video for another day, so let's get into it. So I guess you could say we can divide this into 4 things that I do to overcome or manage my test anxiety in dental school. The first thing I do is I focus on what I can control. I ask myself, okay, what do I know? What can I actually do in the period that I have? And then I reaffirm what I know. I reaffirm myself. I tell myself, you've studied enough. You know everything you need to know. You're just reviewing. it's a mental game for me. You're gonna do well. Like, just constantly focusing on what I do know. Because if I focus on what I don't know, it's gonna stress me out. And honestly, we're not gonna know everything. It's inevitable to know everything. We just need to understand how to get to the answer. You know what I mean? Understand the objective of what the objective was for that lecture. Understand that. Just focus on what I can control. That's all I can do. So what does that look like for me? I would just review to make sure that I don't miss those questions that would pertain to it. I have 7 hours, have 13 lectures to cover. I'm gonna divide that 7 hours by 13, So 7 times 60 is 42. So I'm gonna divide 420 minutes divided by 17, and that's how much time I'll spend on each lecture. And I'll tell myself, I'm going to understand as much as I can in this time allotted for this lecture. And if I don't get it, well, we move on and just do that for everything. That's a practical way that I focus on what I can. I focus on what's in my control. Is what do I know now, and how much more information can I review, learn, etc. before the exam. I think that's the important thing, is just having that realistic sit down with myself saying, okay, we don't have this much time, we have limited time, but we have a whole lot of work to get done. So we need to divide the time and give it equal, or focus on whatever lecture I feel like it's going to be more high yield and allocate more time towards that. But at the end of the day, we need to be realistic with ourselves. If the test's at 8 a.m., we can't move it down because we need to study some more. Let's be realistic here. Number 2, let's get into it. Find your zone. Find what keeps you calm, find what keeps you stable, find what keeps you steady, as if no matter what comes your way, you're gonna remain in that zone. And if that's praying, meditating, working out, making sure you eat a good meal, my point 2 and point 3 are gonna go hand in hand together. But for finding your zone, you wanna make sure you're cool, you're calm, you're collected, that no matter what your mind tries to tell you, you're gonna fail. I don't know about you, but I get these like little whispers in my ear saying, you're gonna fail if you don't sleep tonight. You need to stay up all night and study all night because you didn't study enough, you suck, you're dumb. So in order to shoo those thoughts away, obviously I pray. I make sure I'm well fed, make sure I'm not sleep deprived. So I will get some sleep that night. It might not be a lot, but I'm gonna get some sleep tonight. I did an experiment where for our second to last exam, I didn't sleep the night before. And I wanted to see maybe how good I would do if I studied that long. Yo, I didn't really do that good. I got a 75. I didn't do that good. Like, I've literally gotten a 75 and I've had a good night's rest. I'm like, let me just sleep. So let that be food for thought. You don't have to do the experiment like I did. I did it for you. So make sure you sleep. If you can't sleep 8 hours, try to get 4, 6, 5 hours. 4, 5 hours to get a mark. Because I know like school be tough, so we can't get that 8 hours all the time. But yes. So the third step is going to be do something that you enjoy. I know this can seem counterintuitive or it can seem like it's contradicting the whole purpose or the whole reason why we're having the test anxiety, because we feel like we don't have enough time, so why should I be having fun? But if you give yourself some type of dopamine, it will really help combat that anxiety level that you're having, and it'll, you know, motivate you to study a little bit more, and it'll even help you in your step number 1, which is focusing on what you can control. Once you get that serotonin boost and you're in a better mood, you're able to like focus on what you can control. You're able to get in a better zone. You're able to study as efficiently as you can in the short amount of period, and you're reducing your stress levels, because you don't want your stress levels to be high on the day of the exam. You can have like that, you know, exam day nervousness, but it's different from like actually being stressed out. Like it's gonna interfere with your performance. So what that could look like, I don't mean go forget about the whole night and go out with your friends and go party and whatever you like to do, or just go home and end up watching the whole series of All American. No, what I mean is that if you need to take 30 minutes, and like I said, a lot of these tips are gonna overlap with each other. If that means you need to go set about 30 minutes to an hour to work out and you'll feel better, go and do that. If that means you need to go at least have a quick dinner, maybe Chick-fil-A, maybe something a quick dine-in, and you feel like you'll feel better, have yourself a little pre-exam treat, because you're gonna pass, okay? If that means, let's say it's in the morning and you had the morning off and the test is the next day, if that means getting Starbucks in the morning to make you feel better, that's what I do personally. Every day before I go study, I get Starbucks. I get a matcha latte or a frappuccino. I get that all the time. Literally, like, my Starbucks points is embarrassing. I have too much. But yes, that's what I do. One of the things that I do to help me boost my serotonin, to help me enjoy myself. So these small things help to ease the delayed gratification that I'm experiencing upon the stress of not knowing if I prepared well enough, not knowing if I know enough material. But yes, just treating yourself in the midst of your stress and your anxiety and all that stuff really can help. I don't know too much about the scientific implications of that, but I do know my personal implication is that it helped me do better. And then my last step is to do your best and leave the rest to a higher power. My higher power is God. I rely on the strength of Christ and his favor and his mercy to get me through dental school. So whatever your higher power is, and just release it and surrender it out of your own hands. Because at the end of the day, there's not much that you can do when your exam is tomorrow. Especially if your exam is in the morning, there's not much that you can do. So focus on what you can control and focus on who is in control. And so I do my best and I leave the rest to God. It really is a breath of fresh air to know that, you know, someone out there is looking out for me and he brought me here, so he's gonna see me through here. Those are all very simple, very realistic. I feel like you can easily incorporate it. Now, of course, it's not gonna guarantee you 100 or an A on your exam. It's all about the work you did before the day before the exam. It's all about the work you did last week, not the day before the exam. And that's really important. But also, let's not forget that sometimes I do know, you can go over a lecture like the day of and that question on it is on the test. Like that happened to me. I was like, oh my gosh. So that is the case. So, but you don't want to do super intense studying the day before. It's all about what you did the week before, the days before. So the day before the exam, you want to make sure you're calm, you're collected, you're just reviewing. You want to make sure you're in a good headspace, mental space, physical space, all of that. Like, don't leave. We're not done here. We're not done. Prevention is always better than cure. But here are some ways that I prevent or at least reduce the severity and the intensity of test anxiety. Because let's remember, we're only experiencing this test anxiety because we feel like we're unprepared. So if we can do what we need to do in order to be prepared, we eliminate space for test anxiety to come creep in. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, y'all already know everything I'm about to say. Like, I'm just reiterating it. Y'all already know. I'm just encouraging you. Step 1, to prevent test anxiety. Start studying earlier. When you start studying earlier, you're maximizing the time that you do have, which correlates to our step 1 of focusing on what you can control. And when you start studying earlier, when the test comes, it won't feel like you're overfilling your plate. You won't feel overwhelmed because you've already allocated for the time and what you need to get done ahead of time. So the day before the exam, you're just big chilling, reviewing, and you can still work out, go out to eat, relax. Maybe you want to cook yourself a dinner, watch one episode of All American. You can do that. And my second tip is accountability. Join a study group or have like study partners so that you're not alone in the process, so that y'all can like just meet in and check up with each other and be like, hey, have you gone over this many lectures like you said you wanted to, or did you go over Dr. So-and-so's lecture that you wanted to, or hey, let's go over this lecture together and let's talk about this topic and just bounce heads off with. And I think just having someone go through the process with you is going to keep you on track, and you're going to also keep that person on track. I think that's a super important factor to remember. Another support from another human being is going to help reduce the anxiety when the day of the exam comes. And honestly, like, I don't know about y'all, but like in the library, like everyone has, like for my school, we all have this like collective struggle, and it's like since we're all there together, it's like a little bit better because like we're all going through the same thing, so it kind of makes the process a little bit easier to endure, if that makes sense. My last tip is going to be consistency and discipline, which I'm sure you're already familiar with. If you're already where you are, I'm pretty sure you already had to have some type and some level of consistency and discipline. Remember that consistency, remember that discipline that brought you to where you are, and use that to stick to your study routine or develop one, and just to maintain on track with it. And that'll also correlate to having that accountability. It'll also correlate to having, or to even starting studying earlier. It's going to correlate to focusing on what you can do, or focusing on what's in your control in the present. I really think that everything that I listed, with from how to overcome, from how to prevent, they all correlate with each other. They all work hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Maybe you can, but it's better together, if you know what I mean. But those are all my tips on how I overcame, and how I hope to prevent test anxiety. And I really do hope that you found something useful in this, or maybe you already were familiar with the things I mentioned. I hope this is just a reminder for you and an encourager for you to just continue to strive through your program, because I believe in you. I trust in you, and you will succeed. So if your test anxiety is just too much for you to control, too much for you to bear, I also encourage you to seek out a professional, and don't be ashamed of doing it. I know my first semester of dental school, I definitely reached out to our counselors to get some advice on how I can manage and cope, because it was a tough period for me. It was a stressful period for me, and I felt like I just didn't know what to do. And if that's like you, you're not alone. It's a very normal thing, and there's counselors in place because they know these things happen in there. But yes, don't neglect yourself, don't neglect your mental health, don't neglect your spiritual health, don't neglect your physical health, okay? Take care of all of you. So that's it for today. Or like I said before, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment below if there's anything in here that resonated with you, if there's anything you want to try that I mentioned, or if you had any suggestions for me, I'll be happy to read it below. Or if you want to chat, giggle, cackle, we can talk about it below as well too. So thank you for watching. Give a thumbs up if this is helpful, and if it wasn't helpful for you, maybe it might be helpful for somebody else, so still give a thumbs up. If it wasn't for you, I would be talking to myself right now. So yes, thank y'all. Remain blessed. Bye.